And our top story this hour, economic freedom fighters leader Julius Malema is barred from inciting illegal land grabs. The North Gauteng High Court granted an interdict to AfriForum and AfriBusiness, which submitted an application for such a ruling in November 2016. EFF was asked last year to stop inciting land grabs as it was a criminal offence.
Basically what happened was it's regarding the incitement for people to do a criminal offence like trespassing or occupy land illegally. And we've asked the EFF last year in a letter to not to incite the people and to do a media statement, a brief statement regarding that. We got an answer back from them and they said to us the land are theirs and they are going to occupy the land without compensation. So, yes, that resulted in that we filed court papers in November last year, and today it was heard in the High Court in Pretoria, and the interdict was...
And we're joined in studio by Sfiso Mahlangu, ANN7 resident political analyst, and Armand Greiling, law and policy analyst for AfriBusiness. Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. You're most welcome to also call in on 011-542-2186. Sfiso, I suppose for me the question would be, when we talk about radical socio-economic transformation, and in light with the EFF now essentially being gagged by the court not to incite land grabs, which in itself is the right call, but there is a bigger debate around bridging the inequality in society and also the land issue. What does that mean? What does this mean?
Well, it means that Mr. Malema has got to abide by the law of the Republic of South Africa. He is legally bound to do so and appease the memorandum of the country, which is the Constitution. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is the highest document in the country, and it cannot be overwritten by any desire for greed. It cannot be overwritten by any political desire or political affiliation. And therefore, as much as we believe in the land expropriation policy, it also must be done in reference to the law. And I think Mr. Malema's approach to land grabs was unconstitutional. He knows that, but he also took it to Parliament, to which I am saddened by the ANC's response, because I think they had an opportunity to perhaps amend Section 25 of the Constitution, take his 6% and expropriate land. They did not do that. I think it was due. It was timeless. I still don't know why, perhaps it's internal policy, why they didn't want to come into partnership with Mr. Malema or the EFF, if only it was for this decision alone.
Yeah, well, but as explained from another scholar, in that Section 25 specifically to property protection is something that you cannot amend even in terms of majority votes in Parliament. It would have to be a consultative process, either a referendum or an additional piece of legislation before you can amend it. And that's why the ANC, at least that's the understanding.
According to Section 25 of the Constitution, South Africans, and meaning all South Africans who deserve land, must get land. But the people who lack land in this country are not white people, they are Africans. So without going into the historical dialogue of who stole the land, if we look today of who needs the land, it's the Africans. So if we are to expropriate the land, Africans must benefit more from the land than anybody else. Yeah. And it's not a racial topic. It's more to say who is most at need for the land. It's black people, it's Africans. And so when we speak of expropriation, it shouldn't be viewed as a racial statement to say we're oppressing one group of people and not giving them land. It is simply to say we are correcting the evils of apartheid, and we need to give black people land in this country, because it is the only way that they can receive or make wealth, and it is the only way they can emancipate the economy, and it is the only way that black people in this country can retain their dignity.
I mean, it's one could say it's a giant leap for AfriForum and AfriBusiness with the interdict now from court saying you can't incite land grabs, etc. But, you know, based on what Sfiso is saying and just the imperative of sharing in the wealth of the nation and the land equitably, etc., one could say that this is a great loss in the fight for economic transformation.
Well, I wouldn't say that. What you need to understand is that land grabs and land restitution are two different concepts. The Constitution allows land redistribution to be made applicable and available to the people of South Africa. What government is actually doing is actually failing in the process to give these people a rightful opportunity to obtain land. If I can just take an example, last year, July, the 2014 Land Restitution Act was declared unconstitutional. Now, what is happening to those people who have submitted claims for land redistribution in terms of that act? It's in limbo. And whose fault is that? It's Parliament's fault. Have they come to the table with a solution with regard to that act? Not once have I heard them say anything about amendment or a proposal with regards to that act. With the inciting of land grabs, which is a crime and against the Constitution, that is something wholeheartedly different. And in that sense, I would say it's actually a win for the country because it just confirms the sovereignty of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa.
Allow me to say this. I have a problem when AfriForum takes Mr. Malema to court on an issue of land, but they would never take anybody else to court with issues of racism, racial intolerance. When we have the coffin case, they are not audible. They don't support the issue of fees must fall in this country. They don't show up in many of the battles that South Africans fight. But because it's a land issue, Mr. Malema is wrong. And I'm the first to agree that the consensus on the land issue must be done within the limits of the law and the Constitution. But we shouldn't want to bring the Constitution into effect when it pleases us, simply because 85% of the land in this country is owned by white people. Then we want to take Mr. Malema to court. But if there are issues that affect black people in this country and white people are not necessarily affected and it's unconstitutional, we overlook it. I think even as organizations, including AfriForum, we shouldn't use the Constitution when it suits us. And so it should be a moral standard that we want to apply throughout the being of this country. I think it will assist this country in this development.
I mean, you know, I think we agree in the sense that the Constitution is supreme, the supreme law of the land, and that no criminality is encouraged, especially when it comes to unlawfully taking land from those that currently occupy it. But I think the opportunity is for a broader debate that how do we address other issues, constitutional issues of restoration, you know, especially with in accessing more land for the majority blacks. This is a legal or litigation process that you went through, but that debate we cannot put aside and use the Constitution as sort of a hedge around the inequality, Mr. Khalil. And what is your position as Afri-Business when it comes to, yes, we need to expropriate land or land restitution is imperative, and us as an organization like yourself who have the interests of the greater society are willing to participate to ensure that land is distributed equally?
Well, see, the Constitution makes room for that process to take place. So we're not saying that land expropriation, if the state feels that it's in the public interest, should be barred completely. What is concerning is when you hear individuals make comments like it should be done without compensation. Now, the Section 25 makes it adamant to say that just and equitable compensation needs to be paid in that regard. The draft bill on expropriation, which is now before Parliament, also makes mention of just and equitable compensation. So when you are starting to say that you wish to remove that clause entirely to do land expropriation, that's where the problem comes in. Because let's, for instance, just say economically wise, you are taking property for public interest and not giving a compensation. What is that going to say to the world outside with regards to who have investments here? I'm going to lose out on my investment. Does South Africa look like a country that I want to invest money in, which I want to create jobs, etc., from an international perspective? Then my answer will be, no, I won't do that. Another thing that, with regards to private property ownership, is the thing with ratings agencies. Private property ownership and the relationship with regards to whether you are getting getting bang for your buck is something that is considered.
I think the ratings agency thing is really overplayed, you know, but considering that their own reputation is somewhat tarnished. But I get the point. I just want to bring it back to now the court interdict. Malema cannot say, if you like, you see a piece of land, you're welcome to go and occupy it. But it doesn't stop him from pursuing the debate around land and the fact that it is on everybody's mind that post or prior to 1913, there was a dispossession of land. The cutoff hasn't quite worked. Be that as it may, there's an audit in place, and it is a progressive discussion that we ought to have. It's not stopping the politicians or even Malema from talking about land in their jurisdiction or constituencies.
Well, the thing is, as my learned colleague said, it seems that Agribusiness and AfriForum is using the Constitution only when it suits us. And to that I would say Mr. Malema and the EFF is quite hypocritical in that sense, because how many times in Parliament have we heard they said to Mr. Jacob Zuma, he didn't respect, uphold or protect the Constitution. For an institution and an individual to say that in Parliament wholeheartedly again and again, and then in the next moment when you're outside of Parliament to call on people to commit a crime, I think that's highly hypocritical from their part. And in this case, I won't say that we're sorry that we got the interdict against him, and he should watch what he says.
Okay, so without just, besides just counting his words, it doesn't stop him from still talking about what is in their manifesto regarding the expropriation of land without compensation. He still may say that.
Yes, that's
he won't be in
problem.
contempt of court. It's just words like grab or take or occupy illegally that he is prevented from saying. So it doesn't stop the debate necessarily or the importance of talking about land redistribution.
No, the debate, it won't end. The debate continues. But I think after the debate, there must be some remedial action. I'm reminded of a lady somewhere in a protector's office. There must be some remedial action. I think for him to debate about it is a good narrative and a good story to tell, but he'll lose some political points now because he can't use it as a campaign card to say, go and get the land, we're already getting land. Particularly when last week he stood up in Parliament and he says, even if you don't vote for my call, we will get the land, we'll grab it as we already are doing. It has now become illegal for him to do. I do believe that that was a good vote for the Constitutional Court to make, because you can't have people haphazardly take whatever they want in a country, particularly in a constitutional democracy where the law, the rule of law of the land should apply. But I do also think that in the ANC's era, to overlook that in 23 years, perhaps Mr. Malema was bringing a point and fulfilling the Freedom Charter, that which perhaps in 23 years the ANC had forgotten. I don't know why only 2% of the land issue had been fulfilled and made manifest in 23 years, but perhaps this was a good opportunity, not to consult the two parties, but to amend and to correct the wrongs of apartheid. I believe moving forward, the ANC in its radical approach to economic transformation must relook party politics and return to the Freedom Charter to say, we'll work with whoever we want to work with as long as land is returned. But also I hasten to say once again, the ANC collectively in Parliament cannot return the land because of the factions within the ANC. Within the ANC of today, there is a Zuma camp and there is a camp that does not represent transformation.
Yeah.
There's a white monopoly camp even within the ANC. So of course some of them would nilly-nilly say we don't support the expropriation of land. And I think because of this, the biggest enemy to the ANC is the ANC. Yeah,
but just in closing with Agribusiness, how significant is this victory to you and the impact it has on the EFF in your view?
Well, it's greatly significant. In the past year or so, we've successfully battled at least 5 cases with regards to illegal land grabs, which were also a result of EFF interference. So this court case will definitely help with that. I think the biggest victory is with regards to his irresponsible comments with regards to people should massively take vacant land on the 6th of April. So now we have a court order interdicting those incitements, and we will use it accordingly.